So your biggest zag of the 2024 season, I'll give you mine first so you know. I have Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
I love it.
I think Pittsburgh's defense is the best unit of all the defenses in either conference. And that's Tomlin plus the defense, plus Wilson just not turning the ball over ever. And they're just going to grind out these wins, including potentially week 1 in Atlanta. And I'm in on the nobody believes in us with them. And I'm alone. House is semi there, at least for week 1 with me, but I'm basically alone. And even Steeler fans are like, no, we're fucked, man. Our offensive line's at shambles. Russ sucks. We have 1 receiver. Like that bad pick. You're wrong. So that's my zag. What's your number 1 zag?
Seattle in the playoffs. In a loaded
See, I feel
NFC.
like you have people with you on that because I'd bet them to win the division, make the playoffs, and go over.
You and I and a few others, but like it's
crickets out there for the Seattle NFC West
because the fact that like everyone looks at them and like, and this is a 37-year-old head coach, and they don't really what's on defense, but like
that's how old he is.
37.
Mike McDonald,
37.
Wow,
dude, his story's crazy.
How many coaches are you older than?
I know, it's getting there now.
You have a couple, right?
McVay, McDonald.
Yeah, McVay's still like 31 years old.
McVay's still young. There's another one that was, I think, Brian Callahan in Tennessee. I'm older than
How old's D'Amico Ryans?
D'Amico Ryans were probably the same. No, I'm probably older because I remember when he was drafted. So I'm probably older. So
37. Wow, McDonald.
37. And his story is crazy. He was a GA, which is like graduate assistant at Georgia in like 2013. And like rose up really quickly, and then was at the Michigan Wolverines when they were really good on defense a couple of years ago. The Ravens bring him back because he was in Baltimore, and then they bring him back, and then he gets this thing. But like he's 37 and he hires this grub who they don't have a history, who was Washington's offensive coordinator with Penix and Polk and Adunze and McMillan and that awesome offense that Washington had. And he's like, he didn't even know the guy. They didn't have any real relationship. And he's like, I'm going to get a college offensive coordinator and make him the NFL one here. And I just feel like there's no buzz about them at all. And my zag was putting them in the playoffs. But if you've got them winning the division, then I will tip my cap. Because
I picked the Niners to win the division. I'm just saying they were plus 650, I think, to win the NFC West. So I just sprinkled some on that.
Doing it. And then the other one I have the Broncos making it, which I can't even give you a rhyme or reason.
Man, I looked at that. I wanted to do that so badly.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun when you make that
I looked at it
though?
forever. I just couldn't get past the schedule, which I thought was a little harder than I wanted it to be for the fact that they weren't good last year. But they actually, would they go 7 and 8, 9?
Games.
Yeah, so they didn't even get a 4th place schedule.
Remember, they beat Buffalo.
But those teams, and this is my fear with Buffalo too, and I have Bills fans in my life where you just fucking hate Buffalo. And I was like,
every year.
I wanted to pick Buffalo. I wanted to zag with them for the AFC East all year. Yeah. But then the combo of all the money that is just dead cap, but it's $61 million in dead cap. And then when Milano got hurt, I'm like, I'm out.
I know, it's fair.
This is too tall of a task.
And they lean into that. They love that. So I talked to those guys and they're like, I'm like, Diggs, a big loss, Gabe Davis. And they're like, okay. I'm like, what? Dalton Kincaid had like 90 catches last year. Like,
well, the thing is they
think, and like this the Diggs thing, and I'm not trying to make news here, but like, it's one of those, it was time. And it's like,
he said that.
There's just like, imagine just a cloud lifted. And it's not because they don't like each other personally, but like for the quarterback, it's like, oh my God, fine. All right. Now it's like, I could throw wherever and do whatever. And they got along, but it's, all right. Diggs caught 2 balls in the AFC Championship game. I think like 8 targets, like something crazy. So it's like, let's see what else we have out there, or AFC divisional round. And they've got the Shakir and they've got Keon Coleman. And I think they think they're going to be all right on offense.
The case against it is I hate relying on rookie receivers like that.
I know.
As somebody who is a Pats fan,
Jalen Polk's going to have 100 catches.
Well, I'm actually excited for him, but we had there's so many guys with the Pats that we had to like keep our fingers crossed, and the guys just sucked. And it really does seem, once you get to that 25 to 50 wide receiver range, it just feels like a coin flip.
Yeah, you're hoping.
You go back and look at the history, and it's like, there's AJ Brown, but there's N'Keal Harry, and it just does this.
Totally.
So out of all those receivers, everybody loves everybody, but a couple of them are going to be bust. Like Leggett on the Panthers, Keon Coleman, Jalen Polk.
Pearsall, of course, has the shooting.
Yeah, Pearsall. Like 2 of those guys are going to end up sucking. It's just the law of averages.
That's how it goes.
Wait, can we go back to Seattle?
Yeah. I'm into Seattle.
One of the things I liked about them, well, they actually have like a semblance of a home field advantage if they have a good team.
Yeah.
But, they have loaded position groups. Like their receivers, their 1, 2, 3 are up there.
The Ohio State, like Jackson Smith, like they rave about this guy, and he barely scratched the surface last year.
They had 2 first-round picks last year, and the first-round pick they got this year, who's really a lottery pick.
Murphy's amazing.
Yeah, he went 16, but he should have been top 10.
No doubt.
But so they're bringing in blue chippers finally. And I
like Geno.
I don't mind Geno.
Geno's not going to lose you games. Like, and that sounds like a backhanded compliment, but like he's going to keep you in every game. And if your team doesn't make mistakes, he will win you games.
Well, and then Walker's been one of the biggest buzz guys of the year.
Everyone's in on him also, but I was early on it. Like
the fantasy drafts were nuts. He was going in the 40s.
I wonder sometimes if and it's not just me. I know on yours, I think it might have been Danny Kelly was also big on him too. Cause I listened to that podcast with the three of them, but like, I talked to Mike about it, obviously in the summer, and then someone made me aware of this, which was interesting. When he was at Michigan State, Kenneth Walker, he ran for 291 and 5 touchdowns in an upset of Michigan and just tore them up.
Against Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald's the defensive coordinator. So like, I know that's like, all right, what does that have to do with Seahawks versus 49ers? It does. It's just like McDonald had options. He could have taken. It's like, that was one of the cornerstones of this team. So they feel really strong about him. They like that Charbonnet as the other running back.
He's a good backup.
Good. Yeah. They're loaded.
The thing is, I don't know how to scout a left guard.
Yeah,
I don't really know. There's linebacker stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm sure that guy's awesome. I can tell that Fred Warner's awesome. There's other guys on the TV good. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But with running backs, you can just kind of tell who has it.
Yeah.
Lombardi and I always talk about that. We're always like, why doesn't that guy play more?
Yeah.
And Walker was one of those guys. When you watch the games, you're like,
he's really
that
good.
guy seems awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't they give him the ball? Brees Hall's like that. I mean, some of the ones make sense. There's other ones like the guy in the Bengals, the backup.
Oh, Chase Brown. Yeah. He played at the end of the season really well.
I like Chase Brown.
Yeah, and there's a reason Joe Mixon.
I took him in at least one of my drafts, but like there's certain guys where you're like, man,
I like
McLaughlin on the Broncos was
guy.
another one. The end of the year last year.
My other guy, and it's late for fantasy, but I'm like a big Tajay Spears guy. He's Tennessee's number 2. Again, Tennessee might not be that great, but total like change of pace guy out of Tulane, and like they love him there. So like that's the kind of guy where you're like, oh, well, Tony Pollard's there, so he's not going to get carries. No, he will. Like he'll get carries.
Can I ask you more Juju questions?
Yeah.
How are we feeling about the vibes in Cleveland? What's the word in the street?
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? And it's like they could be the best team in the AFC. On paper, they're loaded. Deshaun Watson, I don't know. I honestly don't. And you hear that he looks good in practice.
So they changed the offense. They changed the offensive coordinator.
But Bill Callahan's not there anymore, who I thought was really important. He was the offensive line guy.
And yet Vrabel is there.
Vrabel comes in.
I don't know what he's doing.
What's Vrabel's role? I don't know.
How is he not hosting a show with Belichick? He could have been the 7th Belichick show.
Could we talk about that for a second?
Belichick here? Belichick's on our show.
I mean, he's going to be doing news updates for Good Morning Football. Like, I'm not like,
unbelievable.
Does he know the word no? Is he? What's going on?
I think Belichick, he knows he's coaching in February.
Yep. He's got it.
And it's
already, you think? It's in the back pocket?
The Belichick podcast should have been called the 6-month money grab.
I mean,
he's just like, do you have a check? Oh, I'm happy to talk. But I don't think I'm watching this because I really want to see in week 1.
Because you got to do it 22 weeks for 7 different outlets. I do it for like 4 and I got nothing left.
But here's the thing. He's going to have to actually be critical. And I don't know if he's going to do it.
Yeah, especially if he's coming back.
If he's coming back, because we've seen all kinds of versions of this with basketball and football, and especially in basketball where the guys, they do TV for a year, 2 years.
They straddle it and they're nice.
Yeah, and they just don't want to really say anything because they might coach again. That's why I loved having Doc on, because Doc
would say
Doc
things.
he has no self-edit button. Pat Riley was really good way back when he did studio. He was great. Yeah, it was before your time.
Yeah.
But it's really rare.
It was like him and Peter Vesey and Bob Costas? Like, what was it?
First year, I think it was just him and Costas.
Okay.
But he was really good.
Yeah.
And I want to see with Belichick when we come out of week 1.
See, like I worked with Sean Payton for that 1 year, and that would be the perfect thing because Payton knew he was coming back.
He was a little careful.
And he was, but right out of the gate, he's like, I don't believe in Tua. And like, it made crazy news. And I'm like, I pulled him aside and I'm like, oh, that's going to be headline. And he's like, well, I don't. I'm like, but when you say
watch,
it, like, and that might, and then from the
and then he kind of learned his lesson, right?
Back and you didn't hear that again, like
right.
It was like, and Belichick out of the gates, how they're using him. I watched Inside the NFL, and it was like, all right, what does Baltimore KC. What's Baltimore got to do to win this game? He's like, well, you can't have Travis Kelce go 9 for 96 in the first half. And like, and the three other guys who, bless them, whatever. But it's like Chris Long, Ryan Clark, and Ochoa, like hanging on every word, watching him do film study. And I'm like, that is cool. There's a play, but if you're doing 7 different, is he going to be that guy on all these? And then McAfee, he's a little lighter, and we laugh about the Insta face and all that stuff. But like, I don't know what I necessarily am looking for.
I know what I want.
What do you want? Just him ripping to shit? Like, hey,
I don't want the ripping. I want, if he's really going to be good at this, I want him to be like, all right, the Jaguars beat the Dolphins week 1.
Let me tell you,
I'm going to look at the tape, watch what they did against Tua, because Tua, he's good at this, but he's bad at this. So when he's out there, you want to make him roll to his right and like explain to us like how he would coach against Tua. If he does that, he's going to be good.
He was fantastic with McAfee at the draft because Drake May gets picked. He's like, look, this is a bad pass.
I thought he was awesome. Yeah.
And then there was another thing where he was critical of something. Like,
so that gave me hope that he might be good at this.
But I see 7 different outlets and I'm like, well, are you giving Underdog Fantasy your fastball? Or are you giving 33rd Team your fastball? Or is it on the Manning cast? Or are you just going to be a comedian with all of them because now he's suddenly this like comedian that they all want to bring on and do jokes about? So, so I'm with you. And Kyle Brandt made a great point today on the show. He's like, because we had to talk about like, oh, Bill Belichick's finally on social media, and we all laugh and do a thing, whatever. And Kyle's like, I kind of miss the Belichick that I knew for the last 25 years. That's like, I'm not going on social media, and I'm not this warm and fuzzy guy, and I'm the smartest football mind in the world. Let's tap into that. So maybe we're doing too much sports media, but like, I'm fascinated to see what this little sabbatical is like, because I agree. I think he's coming back next year.
Listen, this is one of the big stories. The 2 biggest sports media for football season.
Him and Brady, right?
Yeah. Will Brady be good? Will Belichick be good? Like, it's funny that they're linked together again.
Have you offered I'm sure Brian Curtis had that awesome article this week. Have you had your thoughts on Brady publicized yet? Like how you think it's going to go, or no? Have you done any talking on it? Because I had a pretty cool experience where Fox flies us all out to this Terranea, this like nice spot in Palos Verdes. Fox is great. They put anyone who like is on air or is a director or producer, and they put us up, and it's like an offsite, and it's required, and Strahan has to be there, and Aaron Andrews
get to hang out with
there.
Carissa and Aaron, right?
We do. We hang with them. They're great.
They're great hangs.
Great hangs.
Shout out to those 2.
Love them. And it's like it's work, but it's also fun. You play golf, but you also do like these breakout sessions. And I'm at a dinner the first night, and I see Brady. He's looming. He's like there, and there's people like he was at a table with maybe like Menifee and Howie Long, and at my table was Gronk and Edelman and Michael Vick and Charles Woodson, and Brady just kind of slides in, and I'm like, all right, and he pulls me aside, and he's like, what's up, man? He's like, I'm excited to work with you, and I've done production meetings with him, I've covered him, but like, I don't have a relationship with him. I know who he is, and he's really cool.
And then he's like, where can I get some cocaine around here?
No,
that would have been an amazing story.
I'm not the guy.
No, I'm kidding.
Like, tell me your best Tampa Bay Bucks first Saints story, and maybe I'll find you some. And then Brady starts kind of like locking into me and going in on like, he's like, you cover the game every day on Good Morning Football. He's like, what do you think about the current, way that like the quarterbacks are sort of protected and like locked in? And he's like, I just think and you've seen the clips where he talks about this stuff, but he's like, it was on me to not get those receivers injured. And like, I would have to eat it sometimes and take a sack. And I would sometimes have to throw the ball away. And he's like, and I wouldn't run out of the pocket because I'd get my head taken off by Ed Reed or Ray Lewis. And he's like, he's like really passionate and dialed in and locked in. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, and he's talking about, he's like, I watched film on Lamar. He's like, Lamar's amazing. He's like, but if you notice like this was different back when I played. So the question is he going to be critical? Is he going to be, I think he's going to be so passionate and like has real thoughts that in real time, I think it's going to be refreshing. And I don't think we've seen that from one of these guys yet. I don't know how it's going to go this weekend, but like, I think that's even more fascinating than the game itself. Cowboys versus Browns. Like, I want to hear Brady in between plays, and Burkhart's been working with them, and Richie Zients and Rich Russo, who are the producer and director. And they're like, he wants to do the work. Like, he's watching film. Like, I'm like, I don't know if that's what's the most necessary part, but like, he's at least colored in as prepared as anybody. So
the roast made me think he might be pretty good at it, because I was really surprised he did it and he really threw himself into it. But one of the things I heard was that because he's got that Raiders thing, he's not allowed to go to the pregame meetings. And I'm like, he's like, well, he's not gonna be able to do the meetings. That's gonna hurt him. It's like, those meetings are fucking stupid.
I get a lot out of the meetings because it's me, and I go in there and I'm like, oh, it's a chance for me to have FaceTime with every.
Yeah, but half the stuff you're hearing
you don't need that.
we love this guy. We're super excited about him. We love this guy. We love that guy. And those meetings are horseshit.
I've been in a million of them. Here's how they go, because not everyone at home knows. Come in, you hand the coach the all 22 or the depth chart, the flip chart. And some coaches will be like, all right, this guy's not playing. He's injured. And that's not public yet. You'll find that out Sunday. But like, they tell us because we have to prepare. Like,
but somebody can find that out for Brady.
Sure, exactly. And then the analyst, which would be Brady, or my crew, I used to work with Chris Spielman, who was really good at these. And then John Lynch, I worked with as well. And the analyst will usually lead those meetings and ask questions to the quarterback, the head coach, and a defensive player. And, the sideline reporter gets one or two questions, and the play-by-play guy usually will get one or two as well. But it's usually led by the analyst. In that crew, you've got Tom Rinaldi, who's a great interviewer. You've got Aaron Andrews. You've got Kevin Burkhardt. You've got 3 different people who are all fantastic at what they do. I think if Brady doesn't have a face-to-face with Deshaun Watson, but those guys get whatever information they need to go into it, he's done the work. I almost don't necessarily need him in the meeting talking to Deshaun Watson one-on-one and be a lot of that stuff is filler. Like, well, as we talked to him yesterday, he told us that, like, he's really. How about this? I'd vote for not talking to anybody. Yeah, just show up for the game and broadcast it and
be
objective.
I did a couple NBA games when I was at ESPN. I remember one time we had a Lakers game and they weren't very good, and we talked to D'Antoni. He was the Laker coach.
And I never done an NBA one. Is it you're in person or?
I actually really enjoyed
it. They're amazing, dude.
They're so candid because they want to win you over. But it's all stuff you can't really use, where he's like, this fucking guy, like, all right, I can't use that. I don't know. It was fun to talk to him, but it didn't really color how I announced the game.
No, but if you get a story, so like I told you that DJ Reed story about, he's saying that Rodgers, like, that's a cool story. I don't get that if I don't have that production meeting.
But I think where you really get it, because I'm convinced this happens with Romo, where they tip him off like first quarter.
Well,
just watch out for a trick play because we think
Friday's also usually red zone and special teams, and you get to go to practice if you're not doing it virtually. You get to go to practice. I don't know if everyone's going to the practices those years, but like it might have all changed during COVID. But it used to be you get to go to practice, so you'd see what they're doing in the red zone, and then that would actually usually happen in the actual game. So you're actually getting practice.
I guess so. I'm gonna adjust my take.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's worth it. But as a viewer, I'm always annoyed when they do we talked to him last night. We talked to him yesterday. We talked to him on Friday. It's like, just fucking give me the info. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not taking notes. It's like when the people report, so-and-so signed an extension. His agent at so-and-so agency did the extension. I'm like, I don't fucking care who did the extension.
Yeah.
I barely care that there was an extension.
Yeah. And I was going to find out there's an extension tomorrow at 9 a.m. anyway.
Like, who? Yeah. Hey, like, is there a quiz where I get to guess what agents?
That's it.
What agents did it? But back to Brady, though.
I was going to say one more thing about him.
I think he's going to be good. I do. I actually really do think he's going to be good.
He was super locked in with that conversation. And then the NFL comes to this thing as well because they have to go through the rules. And one of the NFL executives was there and was talking about the dynamic kickoff. And Brady was like, oh, so I've got thoughts on that too. And he had 20 minutes with this NFL executive, and it was all great. It's all about football, but passionate. And I don't know, I'm seeing social media and Brady's at, the Michael Rubin stuff, and he's doing the boat racing. And I'm like, no, this dude is dialed in. So at the very least, you're getting commitment. And I think he's going to be great.
I have more of a question of if he's going to last the year.
As in, does he want to do it?
No. I'm just never convinced that guy's done playing.
Fascinating.
Turn the fucking TikTok. Turn the TikTok camera on, Kyle.
On. Let's go. We're in person.
No,
Turn the TikTok camera on.
I think
it's 47, dude.
I don't care. I think he's still in shape.
He is.
I think he's always ready to go. And if anything happened to one of the quarterbacks in the top 6 teams, I refuse to believe he's retired.
This is
my
a fascinating take. I think he's done.
It's not a take. I really, truly believe this.
So,
let's say
I'm not putting a team out there.
No. I don't want to put bad juju. I'm just saying, if it's a team that has a chance to win the Super Bowl and there's a heaven can wait situation where something happens, I think he would come back.
Based on knowledge or just your gut here?
I'm just saying, I think he would come back.
If you're that team,
I think up until he turns 50 years old, I will always believe there's a chance he will come back because I think these guys are all wired the same way. Boxers, actors, rappers, these dudes that have really had achieved great stuff. And once that switch gets turned off, the only way you stop doing it is if your body's not cooperating anymore. I feel like you literally can't do it.
He looks great, dude.
He's in shape.
He looks great.
Because he got super skinny there for a little bit, but he's not super duper skinny anymore.
I was with him about a month ago. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, so anyway, I never believe that guys are done unless their body definitively tells them they're done. And you can't tell me if you put 2 glasses of maybe Jägermeister infused almond milk or whatever the fuck he'd be able to drink.
You can't tell me truth serum.
Hey Tom, do you think you could be one of the 7 best QBs right now without a training camp? I guarantee he thinks he could.
Here's my counter, and tell me if I'm too much of a TV Fox guy, whatever. I'm employed by them. Super Bowl year, he's calling the Super Bowl. Does he bail on that?
I thought you were going to say, can he call the Super Bowl but play for one of the 2 teams? Trying to figure out.
No, but
I guess he would have to have the headphones on the sidelines.
I'm saying, I guess even if I don't know, if he's eliminated, he could probably go back up.
The odds of a QB on a top 5 team getting hurt in November, December are pretty low,
dude.
but it does happen.
It happens.
I'm just saying for the rest of the 2020s until he hits 50, I'm not counting out him coming back. It's not a take. I genuinely believe this.
It's not crazy. It's you.
I don't think these guys can shut it off. I think Jordan would have kept playing if his knees
didn't just
his knees died on him. He just couldn't.
But
play
he had
at the
all
same
last
level.
year to come back, and he had all this offseason to come back, and he didn't come back. Why would he do it now? He's watching football. He's in the flow. It's Sunday's routine. My thought was, and this was last year, but now I'm convinced that he's all in and everything. But my thought was,
I'm not saying he's done all in.
No. I was saying my thought
point
last year
is
was, you got
a team is 9-1 and their QB got hurt, and he's staring at it, and they call him. I know that he was ready to come back for that Niners last year. That was a true story.
I'm not denying that.
100% positive that happened. And that was less than a year ago that he was like, hey, Shanahan, if anything happens to Brock Purdy, I'm right here. That was 9 months ago. He would come back if it was the right team.
Yeah.
I'm not counting him out. By the way, Peyton Manning would play again if his fucking networked.
I also think
these guys only retire when something's wrong.
I think Peyton actually plays a role in this. I think Brady's the most competitive motherfucker there is. And the fact that Peyton for the last 3 years is winning Emmys and is heralded as the greatest thing to happen to sports media, I think Brady wants to be the best at that too. I think there's still a fire there also. All right, I got the number 1 job at Fox. I'm calling the Super Bowl. Let me show you what I can do now. I kind of like that storyline of all right, here's a 10-minute clip of the Omaha musical. Okay, that's Peyton. I'm calling the Super Bowl, dude. And I wonder if there's a competitive fire between the two of them there. Look, he has it. He had it really good. He could just chill in Baker's Bay, Bahamas, and play on the beach and be. He doesn't need to be in Cleveland week 1. He certainly doesn't need to be doing Green Bay, Chicago week 11.
If it was a 7-game run,
you'd say get out of the booth and get suited. I mean, could you imagine? And pick a team. I don't know. It's fun. It's a great. And
I'll say this: out of all the great players that have retired, and this happened, I guess there was they always talked about John Havlicek in the Celtics. Yeah. He retired after his 16th year in 1978.
How old was he?
And he was, I think, 36, 37.
Okay.
But everyone was like, he was in amazing shape. And he would play with the team every while for the next couple of years. And there was, when the team got really good again, they were kind of like, yo, Hondo.
Could you? At 41, could you?
And he easily just could have come back and kept playing, but he was like, nah, I already retired. And, it was a different era. There was way less money at stake.
Well, dude, I look at T.O. T.O. is 50-something right now, but we have him on the show. He's incredible. And he's like, I want to still play.
Tyson,
same thing.
Gonna fight.
Fighting.
Yeah.
Has that happened yet? When is that? The Paul brother, right?
I think that got pushed back again.
But T.O. comes on Good Morning Football. He's 50-something years old and he's in the most amazing shape. And he's like, I still want to play. And everyone, that makes a headline every time. He's like, I can still run a 4.5.
I think when you hit a certain point of greatness,
you never think you're done.
You never think you're done unless your body, it's like I was one of the great blue guy pickup basketball players, in the LA area. And it's just my body
just gave out.
Wouldn't cooperate anymore. And I knew it. And you just, when your body gives out, I don't think Brady's body is giving out.
No.
He was to the bitter end really good. So anyway, I don't know.
It's a good topic.
I think if we're going for what would make this the greatest season ever, and it's like somehow Brady ends up on an NFC team with 7 weeks to go, playing Mahomes, going for a three-peat.
That'd be insane.
And then the world, I feel like an asteroid would just hit the
world
earth.
ends after that. Well, the world might end in November, and I don't know either way, but like that's how that's going to go.
So are you like, because this happens like with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You're like kind of an honorary Chiefs. You're kind of in. You're like adopted in the crew. You went to KC for comedy stuff.
Yes, and I do this big slick event with them, and we auctioned off an incredible Chief experience. But
you're not from Kansas City.
I'm nothing to do with it. I've nothing to do with it. I was early on Mahomes.
Yeah.
KC fans love that I picked them early to win their first Super Bowl when they did it after the Mahomes second season, whatever it was, and then. But Paul Rudd's a Brooklyn guy. We became friendly, and then he's like, "Why don't you come to this event?" So now I'm at this Kansas. I'm like Kansas City royalty because I pick them to win, and they win, and I'm like so bullish about it. So last year they were the 5 seed, and I with a ton of arrogance, and I was on your podcast doing the same thing, and I'm like, they're not losing to the Bills. I don't care if they're on the road, like they're going to beat the Bills, and they did. And I'm like, they're not losing to the Ravens, and they did.
They barely beat the Bills.
Kansas City, of course, but they win. Kansas City fans and I, we've hit it off, but it's interesting. The Chiefs as an organization. I did this whole thing today predicting them to win. I called it a Chiefs Pete, not a 3-peat. It was great, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's tweeting it. Chiefs organization, they're not that way. They wouldn't repost that. They wouldn't celebrate. They wouldn't be like a thumbs up Schrags. That's not their thing. That goes to Clark Hunt. That goes to his father, Lamar. It's their social media presence, as creative as their content people are, it's they are not boastful. They are not that way. And it's almost like we're just going to take care of our stuff. And the win that, I talked to Andy and Spags about this the year afterwards. The win that they were so proud of their team, and Ted Cruz was the old PR guy, not the Texas senator, is a PR guy who's now with the Bears. The story is coming somewhere, I promise. They had the Cincinnati Bengals game the year after they lost to the Bengals, and it was Burrowhead, and then the mayor of Cincinnati came out, and it was talking, and no one said anything from KC, and then KC wins, and in the locker room afterwards, they were so fired up because they wanted to talk so bad and they just didn't. And the team was so proud. The organization was proud. Not a single thing publicly. Mahomes, they hated that Bengals team, and they hated the fact that the Bengals were puffing their chests and thought they were going to go in. And
that's very Patriots-esque.
It was Mike Hilton, who's not Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase, but it was Mike Hilton running his mouth, and not a single Chiefs player.
The Pats, as it went on with the Pats, they started getting a little more feisty about that. Because I remember, who was the Steelers? Was it Ryan Clark? Who was the Steelers D-back? No, it wasn't Ryan Clark. It was somebody.
Let's think. I'll get it.
It was the Steelers D-back who talked shit about Brady.
Really?
And then Brady just targeted him and torched him.
Was it in that?
And talked all kinds of shit in one of the playoff games.
Yeah.
20 years of Pats history is blending
Taylor
together at this point. With somebody, but they were and then Brady ran up to him after one of the touchdowns.
Yeah. And
Brady really, when we got to 2010s, he loved that shit.
Brady loved that. And that was his motivation. It's it's someone else is picking against us. And, one thing with Mahomes, he sees and reads it all. I know that. He sees and reads it all. And the NFL Network does his top 100 list that is
Tyreek being one?
Tyreek won. Lamar being rated ahead of him. He was number 4 on the list.
Was that the players did that though, right?
The players vote on it,
but that's the thing. Players shouldn't vote on anything.
You can't be mad. It was voted in November or December of last year, and Tyreek was voted number 1 and Mahomes number 4. Remember, they were the 5 seed in the AFC. But trust me, when Mahomes was ranked 3rd and Lamar was ranked 1, that fired him up. And I know for a fact that Mahomes sees that he's number 4 on the NFL 100.
Player voting they did this in the NBA. That's how the MVP used to be decided.
Really?
And it was a
When?
disaster.
When did that change?
In the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, George
it was
Mikan.
a disaster.
That's it.
And they finally were we got to fix this. It's you just got agendas. You got people voting against somebody who's a rival against their teammate.
Having enough ex-players who have done it, they're the people come in with the list. It's after practice. It's November. It's and we hold it as if it's the most.
Or they might not even know what the list is. They might think it's for MVP for that year.
That list though had.
If you have a list with Lamar over Mahomes, you almost have to set the list on fire.
Yeah,
and Lamar is really good.
Lamar's
but
MVP, but
come on.
I know. And that's what I say. And
Mahomes is up here and we go here and then we got the rest of the quarterbacks.
One because defensive coordinators can't sleep at night and he says, unbelievable. Fine. We put another quarterback over Mahomes. He sees that.
Tyreek can't be one when his team traded him and then immediately won the next 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And I'm a Tyreek fan as well.
I
All
love
right.
Tyreek.
This was fun. We'll have to keep doing this during the
So
season.
in summary, Seattle, we both like. Denver, you kind of like. I'm sort of in just because of
Jets and Seattle seem to be. And Jacksonville.
And Jacksonville.
And then we're a little worried about San Francisco. I'm more worried about Cincy than most.
Oh, Cincy. I didn't have them in the playoffs either.
I just.
What about Dallas? Where'd you come out on Dallas?
Oh, I'm out. Thumbs down.
What about Sal?
Well, Sal's he's not a reliable narrator. And
yeah.
You don't want to go to.
Is he like excited about it?
He's high every year. You can't take.
Okay. All right.
You can't take his.
And then
Dallas
Belichick and Brady as media mavens. We'll see.
We'll know with Belichick after week one. If he's,
you want Kirk Cousins to throw a pick and Belichick to come on inside the NFL and be like, he totally missed the coverage.
I want him to be like, here's how the Steelers defense destroyed Kirk Cousins in week one. Here are the 3 things they did. And now here's what Atlanta has to do because the Steelers did this, this, and this, all of it worked. So Atlanta now has to do this, this, and this. If he does that, he'll be great.
Am I making a crazy stretch? I pulled it out of my ass earlier. I really thought of it here and I think it's good now. Brady might be inspired to just be better than Peyton Manning at broadcasting. Is that a crazy take? That's me. That's trying, man.
You know, I think 10 years ago, I would have been more into it. I just feel like Brady won.
Yeah.
It's like
Manning's really good, though.
Manning's been awesome with the media side. I'm just saying, like, the Brady versus Manning thing kind of is done now.
Yeah. You don't think he's watching the Manning cast every Monday night and like, he's really fucking good at this. I could be good too.
I don't. I think Fox offered him a lot of money and really went after him and wanted him to do it. And
that's fair.
You know, he'll do it for a couple years and then he'll own the Raiders or be part owner, right?
Yeah. Whatever that is. I don't know how that's going to figure itself out, but the NFL obviously wouldn't love him to own a team and also be in production meetings.